What's up everybody, Texas Backyard Gardener, and this video I've decided to do a little test. I don't really know what to name this video, but you know, it's kind of a combination between topping your pepper plants and overwintering. But from the research I've done, the highest success rate of pepper plants that you can overwinter are the hot ones. So with this little experiment, it's kind of an experiment, but I'm really hoping it works. I went to Lowe's because I was driving by there the other day because Lowe's is literally probably a 15-minute walking distance from the house. So I drive by there all the time, and I try to kidnap the kids and take them to Lowe's with me. And you know, they just love it to death. But so as I was driving by, I noticed that they had some plants out there, and they had like broccoli, they had kale out there, and I also saw some tomato plants and some pepper plants. So I decided to drive by there today because I had this video in my head and I wanted to try it, but I didn't really know where I was going to go with it. So it's kind of like an experiment, but I really hope it works. So the pepper I picked up is a poblano, poblano ancho pepper, and it is on the hot side, so it's a little bit hotter than the jalapeno. And it's a Mexican pepper, and the peppers get probably about, you know, about 4 inches, maybe about 4 inches long, and probably, you know, about yay thick. But is what I want to do is in this video, I want to show you. I've got to transplant it. This is from Bonnie, the Bonnie company. But I want to transplant it into this 2-gallon white bucket, and I'm just repurposing this bucket. I've drilled holes at the bottom so the water has enough holes to drain out, because I don't want the contents of this bucket to be setting in soup or you know, have a bunch of water. I also picked up one of these little plastic trays from Dollar General. They had them for 40 cents, but they also had it for 25% off, so I got it for 30 cents. And it actually fits perfect in here. So I'm going to put my my mix in here, and then I'm actually going to top this pepper plant. And I'm going to kind of do, in this bucket, I've kind of mixed some of the potting soil I had with perlite and about 50% peat moss. So it's about, with the perlite mixed in, I guess, it's like the potting soil, the moisture control from Scott's, probably about 40% of that, 40% peat moss. So it's kind of a half-half between the peat moss and the potting soil. And then I put probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 cups of perlite in here, and I mixed it up. So it should have enough aeration, and it should have enough moisture control with the peat moss and the organic material. So I'm going to fill this bucket up with my material, and then I'm going to take it outside with my water filter on my water hose, and I'm going to soak it down real good, you know, kind of get it moist. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to break this peat pot up. I'm going to try to take it off, and I'm going to plant it. There's a little leaf down here that I need to pull off, but I'm probably going to plant it up to about right here. And then top it, because it's already got some growth coming out of these little nodes here that I want to try to keep and actually promote that growth. And then finally, I'm gonna add some Garden Tone, this organic fertilizer, into the soil. So I'm gonna kind of do what they call a hot mix, and the hot mix is you put your soil contents, you know, about halfway, however deep you're going to bury it. So I'm probably going to fill this up maybe to about 1 inch. There's this little lip around here, So the soil is probably going to be about right there. So I want to, actually it's about where this crease is. So I want to kind of bury it to where that crease is right here. And then I'm going to top it, about right here. So I want to try to see if I can grow roots out of this stock. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But the hot mix basically is, I'm going to fill it up to about down here, right? But halfway. But I'm also going to take this garden tone and I'm going to sprinkle some garden tone around the edge of it. And I'm going to kind of mix it in just a little bit. Then I'm going to put some more of my compost matter or my potting soil matter on top. Then I'm going to plant the top or set the plant in there on top and then finish filling around it. So what that'll do, that'll give the roots a chance to kind of branch off, and probably in a couple of weeks when the branch or when the roots finally break through, that's when they're going to hit the fertilizer. So it's not an immediate contact to the fertilizer. It's kind of a progression as the plant grows. Then in a couple of weeks when the plant gets established into its new home, that's when it hits the fertilizer. So that's the thought process. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this up. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to go ahead and start doing it. I'm going to fill this up, and then I'm going to sprinkle it around there. The fertilizer. Oh, and by the way, this garden tone is a 3-4-4. So it's got 3% nitrogen, 4% potassium, and 4% 3% nitrogen, 4% phosphorus, and 4% potassium. So the phosphorus, the middle number, is going to be huge for root growth and budding. But I'm going to pluck up all the budding because I don't want it to bud at all. I just want it to grow. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. So again, this is a 2-gallon bucket that I got from Home Depot, and I filled it up, you know, almost about halfway to where this little line ridge is around here. So it's filled up about halfway, and I gave it a really, really good soaking. That way it would, you know, retain a lot of that moisture in there, and you can see it's already starting to drip out the bottom. That's fine. I also found my Epsom salt outside, so I'm going to put some of that in there too because magnesium is great. And I think this has some magnesium in it. Yeah, it's got 1% magnesium, 5% calcium, and 2% sulfur. So if y'all have ever used garden tone before, I mean, this stuff is actually pretty decent. I mean, it's really, really good. It's kind of a really good mixed blend. But so I'm going to go ahead and start my hot mix. I'm just going to use, let me break this up in here. I'm just going to get, I'm not going to put very much because the garden tone has magnesium in it. But I don't know, this is about a teaspoon, not even around the teaspoon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle it around the edges. So go ahead and come on in closer and then you can see me. So I'm just going to sprinkle it around the edges. You know, I don't want to get it in the middle. I just want to keep it around the edges. Okay. So I got that in there. Now I'm going to go for my garden tone, my actual fertilizer, and this stuff actually stinks, but that's okay because the plants love it. All right, so I'm going to put a full teaspoon to start out with, and again, I'm just going to go around the edges. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to come around the edges. I don't want the plant to come in contact with it immediately because I'll put just a tad bit more because I'm also going to, whenever I water it in real good, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a feeding of my Dr. Earth liquid fertilizer. Okay. I'm going to give it a drink of this. This is just a 16.9 ounce bottle of water. And really, I just put like maybe 2 milliliters, if that, in this full bottle, and I shook it up. So it's like super duper low strength. But the liquid fertilizer will hit the roots immediately and give it that boost of 333, which is 3% nitrogen, 3% phosphorus, and 3% potassium. So this will give it an immediate fertilization. And the hot mix is when the roots will hit it whenever it starts growing out, trying to get more established. So I want this to be slow releasing, and I want to fertilize this for immediate results. Or immediate food. You know, I want to give it some food immediately. So you can see here the roots are already kind of starting to come out here, and I'm just going to cut this off. And these peat cups that they use, they always get stuck around the sides, and they'll peel off too. And you know, so the mix that I've got in here in this bucket and in there, it's pretty much the exact same mix. I mean, there's really no difference. I'm sure it's probably miracle crap, but I'm just gonna. And pepper plants are resilient too, so don't be scared to think that, you know, you're gonna hurt it. I mean, these bad boys can be overwintered. They can kind of take a little bit of abuse, so don't worry about it. So I'm just gonna pick some of this off real gently as possible. So I want these roots to really expand into their new home. And I hate breaking roots. Sometimes you just gotta do what you need to do. Try to peel this off as much as possible. It's got a good root system in here. It'll be a lot happier in this bigger bucket because the roots will be able to breathe. That's good. I've got it pretty much all the way off. So I'm just going to lay this bad boy down here. So now the hot mix, I got to come over here and I got to top this with some more soil because I don't want the plant to immediately hit it. That's the last thing I want. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a base. Break up some of this peat moss in here. And I'm going to set this plant inside here and kind of see where I'm going to. Okay, that'll actually be perfect. Actually, it's probably a little bit higher than I want, so let me just kind of dig around in the middle a little bit. Because I'm going to top this thing. Okay, that looks about right. Alright, so now I'm going to fill this up. I'm obviously going to have to sweep. So I'm going to fill this up around here. I'm glad I made this much because I'm definitely going to need it. When I get done filling this up, I'm gonna soak this with water after I get done topping it, because I'm gonna top it before I water it. Just gonna mash it down a little bit. And the water from the bottom will start wicking up and get the rest of this potting soil wet. And I'm just showing you how I'm going to do this. You may have a completely different way, and that's fine. No big deal. You know, there's not one way of gardening. There's a million different ways. Everybody finds what works for them, and that's what you do. You find what works for you, and if it works good, keep doing it. I mean, if you don't get good results, then you can't keep doing the same thing and expect something new. You're gonna have to change up till you find what works. Okay, almost done here. It's looking good. Almost using all of this in here. That hot mix is going to work really, really good in this. Okay, so I've got it filled up to the line where I want it. Now comes the drastic part. So now I've got this, where I'm going to cut this, you see I've got two little shoots coming out right here, one right there, one right there. There's another one shooting out right there on that node. There's another one shooting out right there on that node, and then there's a little baby one shooting out on that node right there. I don't know if because I only want to do one cut. I don't want to sit here and do like 50 cuts because I screwed up. So I think is what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right here and cut it right here at this node, because there's still growth here. So the thinking of this is these two down here at the base will grow up, and this will be the main stem, but I'll have these two offshoots for main branches, and these other ones will just be extra. So I'm going to go ahead and top it, and it's going to look very drastic, but don't worry. So I'm just going to cut this top part off just like that, and that's it. And this actually has got some buds on here. It's got two buds growing, and I don't really care, because that's what needs to be done. So anyway, so now that I've got that done, I'm just going to put a little bit more over here. Now I've got that done, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to water it in real good. I'm going to give it a nice drink of water with the water filter, and then right before I'm finished, I'm going to go ahead and give it some of this immediate feed, because I just wounded it. I pretty much just chopped the crap out of it. So this plant is the one that's going to be overwintered. I'm going to try to grow it. I still have about 2 more months of hot weather, so I'm going to keep this plant outside and let it do its photosynthesis and create the chlorophyll and just grow as big as I can before I put it in a dormant state. So next I'm going to go ahead and water it, and I'm going to go ahead and water it and get that done with, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. So I went ahead and I mulched on top after I gave it a really heavy drinking of water. And this thing actually filled up, and I poured it out into another area where I'm prepping for next summer, or next spring rather. And then I let it drain again. It took probably 5-7 minutes. I just let it all drain. That's fine because that peat moss is soaking up a lot of that water, and it's going to provide more than enough moisture in there to keep this little plant alive. And I know it looks drastic, but that's okay. So I'm going to keep it in here. This is going to go outside because it's been outside, and I want to try to get a good 2 months growth off of it. I mulched really, really heavy on this because if you've never grown in containers before, you know that, well, I guess you wouldn't know if you haven't ever grown in containers before, but containers will dry out very, very, very quickly. So it's important that you keep enough water in there. So what I'll probably do is kind of just come by every day and give it a little bit of water, not much, but you know, and I'll check the weight of it, you know, and if it seems pretty light, then I'll give it some water. But more than likely, I'm going to give it a little bit of drink every day because it's still in the hundreds and in the 90s here in Texas, at least in zone 8A. So this is going to keep it from drying out as fast. Yeah, so the whole purpose, you know, this, by doing what I did, it's going to force the plant to stop producing buds at the top and stop putting growth out going up. This is going to force these little side shoots to grow. And these leaves here that I left are going to be vital for it to take in the sun and do its photosynthesis. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, when the roots get established and start hitting that hot mix down there at the bottom, these side shoots, I'm hoping, I'm actually shooting for about an inch, if not longer, on these side shoots. I want to see some significant growth on these side shoots. So that's going to provide me a bushier plant that's going to, in the end, provide me with more fruit, more peppers. And that's the whole goal of this. So yeah, give it a shot. If you've never done it before, do it. I did a video a while back about topping my seedlings, and it worked great. The only bad thing is all of them died out in my new bed, so hopefully I've got a little bit more control over the type of soil and environment that I've got in this that I did out there, because those raised beds I've got out there, the organic matter just wasn't broken down enough to provide nutrients to the plants, and everything died, so no worries. But I'm going to go ahead and set this outside, and I'm going to let it just live outside. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do anything different. I'm just going to check it every day for water, give it a little bit of drinking, and go from there. So I will have another update probably in a couple of weeks from today. Today is September 1st, so September 15th I will have another update on this pepper plant. So stay tuned, because you definitely want to see the results of what I did. That way you know it works, and hopefully if you're watching this, you will try it too, because I know it's going to work. I know you're going to be successful. Alright, so if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, and comment, like, rate, and subscribe. And until next time, everybody, peace.